at other risks and opportunities of the Economic Partnership Agreement that East African Community countries are signing with the European Union. The East African Community member states are set to sign an economic partnership agreement with the European Union, but some stakeholders think that there are serious risks that need to be taken into account before the signing. EAC and EU senior officials agreed on the draft text of the agreement on the 20th of this month to signify the conclusion of the negotiations. The parties are set to agree on a time frame and the final text for signatures by ministers during the joint EAC-EU ministerial meeting to be announced at a later date. Key stakeholders, including Seti in Uganda, are calling upon East African Community ministers to first weigh the risks and opportunities of the EPA before signing. Serini says it is concerned that the agreement adopted by East African Community trade ministers is not an agreement that the region needs. These stakeholders insist that before the agreement is signed, many questions must be answered, including 1. Does the agreement encourage diversification? 2. Does it increase food security and provide quality employment? Thirdly, does it move to the region from being largely a raw materials exporter towards becoming producer? So tonight we have experts in the studio to respond to these questions and also point out the risks that need to be avoided, but also the opportunities that can be exploited and how the region or individual countries can maximize these opportunities. Our guests: Ambassador Nathan Irumba, Executive Director of CETIN, that's the Southern and Eastern African Trade Information and Negotiations Institute. You're most welcome, Ambassador Irumba.
Thank you very much.
We also joined by Dr. Mwambutsya and Ndebesa, Senior Lecturer of Politics at Makerere University. You're most welcome, Dr. Ndebesa. Thank you, and good evening, listeners. Ambassador Irumba, what is this Economic Partnership Agreement that the EAC is about to sign?
The Economic Partnership Agreement we have been negotiating for the last almost 10 years was intended to replace not replace, but to put on a reciprocal basis our trade with the EU, with the European Union. Now, this is a fundamental change in our relationship with the EU, because we are now entering into what we call a full-blooded free trade agreement between unequals. And it's no question, no doubt about it. The EU, motivated by global Europe policy or objectives, have very secured all the objectives that we are to get. Now, as far as Africa, the EAC is concerned, really the motivation was Kenya flowers and I think some fish, which in my mind, when I talk of fish, exporting fish in Uganda, Rwanda, I would actually, if I was in authority, I would ban the export of fish, because we no longer have, fish has become out of reach of the ordinary Ugandan. So we are signing an agreement which will open up our market, which will put on, where we shall also policy space, in this case, what you can, for instance, put on export taxes in case we need to. It was supposed to be WTO compatible, but what we have done is to go beyond actually the WTO, what is the requisition and recognition for WTO compatibility. So when we look at this agreement, with the farming liberalization locked in, now we are locked in all the structural adjustment measures we took on. We do not see our industries being able to compete successfully with the European imports. Then there are aspects which, of course, is part of global Europe, was when the competition with the Brazils, Indias, and China, whether we call the BRICS. We are trying to look at whatever we enter an agreement which is better, we must extend the same provisions to them. So in a way, there is directing our external trade policy. And it is instructive also to know that as we negotiate AGOA, the US is bound to imitate, to demand exactly the same aspects we have, which we have signed on. Now, another most dangerous provision is what we call the rendezvous clause. The rendezvous clause, we are agreeing that at a certain date to enter into other negotiations on investment agreement, government procurement, and intellectual property. Now, we have some flexibilities within the context of the WTO on these issues, but what the EU is seeking is actually to make sure that they narrow down those flexibilities and we offer them more than we have given at WTO. Those are the long-term dangers.
Do you have any opportunities anymore? Do you have any good things going?
Well, there is a promise of the EU in terms of best endeavor clause, as I call clauses, a promise that the EU will help, but there is no clear spell at home what aid will give. It's the kind of traditional aid I think I will look forward to the ADF. Okay, we shall continue with the preferences. But as we concern these preferences we are continuing with, I'm not the one who would have motivated to send such a long-term agreement. The question is, whatever, it's one thing to get market access. It's another thing to get market penetration.
You see to the goal, the borders are open for us, it's same t-shirts.
So they can give you this money, they will not use it.
Because we are on capacity.
We have it. So until you address the question of capacity, that's when you open up the market, because then you are competitive. But you're not competitive.
So you're talking about you want protected markets.
No country has developed without protecting its market. And that's why the EU, when it comes to agriculture, there is no negotiations. They refused to negotiate. The same in the US.
Yeah.
Because they are protecting,
they subsidize the
agreement. And of course, the real danger about here, those subsidized items will come and compete with our
unsubsidized goods and they'll be more expensive. Dr. Ndebesa, why should we be worried at all about this agreement?
Why should we be worried about this agreement should be put in the historical and the wider perspective? Is that for a long time, since we were integrated into the world system, we have been shortchanged and among other channels through agreements. Through agreements, whether they are trade agreements, the investment agreements, tax agreements, now contracts, even energy contracts, ETC, like rename and whatever, you find that we have lost billions and billions of money through such agreements that we first get organize, digest, and understand. But from a historical perspective, actually losing financial losses may be bad, but it's not too bad. The worst is, as the ambassador pointed out, is losing out on our sovereignty, policy sovereignty. In 1900, when Uganda signed the agreement with the British, they lost sovereignty. Unfortunately, more than 100 years down the road, we are signing agreements in which we are losing our policy sovereignty. And when you simply go and quickly sign almost at the point of your ban, because this agreement is not about economic partnership agreements, have been negotiated for 10 years or so, and they have not reached an agreement. So only in this month alone, the process, in the sense that even the general public do not know what was going on. And I don't think even the technical people knew what was going on, because we have to sign by 1st of October 2014 as a deadline. Yeah. And we are being hurried, and I am told they have now issued signifying conclusion of the agreement and whatever, but in effect, we seem to have signed. And we are going to lose our sovereignty, because how does somebody stop you from deciding how you should be dealing with your neighbor or with your friend? Because in these agreements, they normally tell you under the most favored nation clause, I think of the WTO, which is also sets a parameter for such agreements, is that if you choose to
to deal with, say, Cuba or any other country, they will say you have to deal with Cuba in the same manner that you should deal with us. In other words, we are allowing them through these agreements. We are opening our space. It is like we are opening our houses for these people just to come in. But even if you invite a visitor in your home, I think you need him to the sitting room. But allowing him or him forcing himself to go to your bedroom is another matter. Right. And in sense, that is what we are doing. And by the way, the population, the citizens are not effectively involved. For example, out there, listeners who are listening to me, how many people know EAC, Economic Partnership Agreements, which is actually like a protocol that was set in motion by the Cotonou Agreement. Now I'm talking about Cotonou Agreement. How many citizens in Uganda know Cotonou Agreement? What are they even knowing that Cotonou is the country seat of the world? How many people do you know out there? What we are saying is that under globalization, the relationships and partnerships we are having with our so-called partners in the West, I prefer to call them, that this is not a partnership but a paternalism. It's a paternalism in the sense that in these agreements and agreements and negotiations, they take us as children who do not understand and who can be dictated upon. And sometimes we hand ourselves to them and say, oh, you have given us a deadline, let us hurry, let us sign, we begin panicking as if the world was going to end tomorrow. And we issue or sign these agreements, permanently signing off your policies of unity so that you have no room for maneuver in the future because these agreements take a long time to change or to negotiate. But even when you are negotiating again and you have no strategic thinking and strategic plans and programs to ensure that you promote your own interests, then you will be serving the interests of the others. And this has happened for more than 100 years. It's unfortunate that Kabwa, who signed the 1900 Uganda Agreement, for whom at least he didn't understand what he was signing. But now, when we should be able to understand and discern some of these issues, we simply hurry and sign without even involving citizens in terms of democracy. So where is diplomatic democracy? Because in this age and era, when we have been used to global village and call upon citizens to ensure that they scrutinize these dealings, these agreements, these contracts. Much more so, our representatives, the parliamentarians, they should not just talk about local issues only, because policies in Africa, in Uganda in particular, are no longer only made in Kampala here, in Parliament or State House. They are also made in Arusha, headquarters of the South African Community. They are made in Brussels, the Secretariat of the European Commission. They are made in New York. They are made in Washington. They are made in Geneva, where there is WTO. And our representatives, our negotiators, should understand the dynamics involved here. Otherwise, we should change it. We should change it. More than 100 years ago, in the agreements we made with the Europeans when they were colonizing us, now under this neocolonialism or indirect influence, we are signing agreements and losing a lot of money as well as our sovereignty.
Well, listen, this is Spectrum on Radio tonight, but other risks are the activities of the Economic Partnership Agreement that East African Community countries are now signing with the European Union. I guess Ambassador Nathan Irumba, Executive Director of CETI, that's the Southern and Eastern African Trade Information and Negotiations Institute, and Dr. Mwambutsya, Ndebesa, Senior Lecturer of Politics and Makerere. University, you will call in later and ask your questions, so you will make your general contributions to the matter. Ambassador Irumba, let's look at the case study here, the risks involved. We know Kenya is a big floriculture exporter, vegetables and flowers. Uganda has fish. What are the risks there, looking at either any of these case studies?
For the risk vis-a-vis Kenya, the fact that not being a least developed country, its flowers will no longer go on duty-free quota-free market access, which the other East African countries have. Now, they might have to get a slight rise of the tariffs of the flowers to Europe. That's the they say that competitors like Ethiopia, Colombia would take advantage of them without competing in the EU market on flowers. That's the risk. And really this agreement has been more signed because of Kenya. Because the other countries in East Africa are what you consider least developed countries, so they will not be affected because we have got everything but arms, so they continue to sell their products at zero rate. But as I said earlier, at times this market access is an issue because you don't have the productive capacity, and that's why we give it to you at free market access, because you don't have.
But transformers have been open the doors to
I don't blame the EU. They are doing the best for themselves, but we should look at ourselves.
So what do you do? It's a global market. You can jump away from agreements. You eventually have to integrate with the global.
But maybe you don't sign unfair agreements. Because what we are getting here, as you see, if you look at our natural exports to EU, even under which we have had this beautiful free market access for years, continue to be raw materials.
So what is it? Why can't you make our own chocolate? Why can't you make this our own coffee? We try to process coffee. Whose fault is it? Why can't we import this technology? We still have corrupt governments. You can translate forward.
We have weaknesses because and I think we have also missed foreign independence syndrome. We always waiting for someone to come and so we abolished the elements like we did at one stage, which was actually an instrument on the risk. Now when we have resurrected it, we are not capitalizing it. If you look at the many of the industries which began with they were actually engineered by the government corporation. Yes. In our enthusiasm for market fundamentalism, we will do it. And when we now are trying to, I'm glad that it is some thinking that is necessary. What capitalizing elements like EAC to spearhead industrialization. That means to export closer to cotton diamonds, even to Harrods. Harrods stores. I was in London as a young officer. The underwears of Harrods were said to come from Eugene. But now, and Eugene was a subsidiary at that time of EDC.
Yeah, just I wanted to put adding some risks. The listener out there should know that one of the issues under these agreements, economic partnership agreements, is that there is a demand that we liberalize our imports. By now they are talking about something like 82% liberalization. So they will liberalize and we will going to actually tax most of the imports from the European market. Now one of the risks is that we shall be starved of revenue from customers, especially for the imports coming from European Union. That is one risk. Considering that our tax base is still low and we don't tax income we have, the state has no capacity to identify a taxable income. It relies on the tariffs, it relies on customs tax. Now that is one of the risks. And when we use such a tax, that is where you find government going to tax, for example, agricultural inputs in order to compensate the tax we are missing out on liberalizing these foreign inputs. That is one of the risks. Another risk is that we are signing an agreement at a time, for example, when we are slated to export our oil. And therefore we shall be in a different category. We hope to be in a different category. Yes, but we are signing as LGCs. When we are signing at a time when we are not adding a lot of value on our exports to the raw materials, you know. Now what if we start adding value? What will happen? You find yourself already entangled and limited. You have no room for maneuver. You have no space to make sure that you make a law
sign an agreement that will give you space now as an exporter of finished goods. So those are some of the risks that we are likely to incur, and therefore it needs taking serious attention. Now, the European Union, when they are signing these agreements, generally the European Union countries, they involve their citizens. The agricultural lobby in Europe is very serious. It's very powerful.
And it structures, not just streets of
you cannot remove subsidies from the European agricultural from the agricultural produce anyhow like that. But you ask our farmers whether they know EPAs, they may think it is a form of fish somewhere, or pesticide in somewhere. You know, that is the problem. We should have engaged with the citizenry and most citizens in Uganda. Right. And our technocrats so that we understand these issues, and we should not be stampeded. You see, we have been stampeded in this month, and once you are stampeded by somebody who knows best, because we are not writing an agreement, we are making an agreement between
there's no question about that.
There is no question about that. And therefore, we should consider that those who are weak should be given some preferential treatment. It is not begging per se, but we need a preferential treatment. Otherwise, if we put a heavy weight in the ring and the right box properly, and the right weight, and we say, I have given you equal loss, we are going to operate under equal rules, definitely the heavyweight will win. So we are saying we needed to have negotiated more preferential treatment because we are trading with a bigger partner.
And it's Spain alone has the GDP of Africa 1.3 trillion dollars. It's just one part of it. Yes, it's not even one of the bigger economies.
Yeah, by the way, I'm told the whole of Sub-Saharan Africa and its contribution to global trade is about 2%.
Not Sub-Saharan, the entire Africa.
The entire Africa is about 2%. 2%, and you are talking about even oil. If you remove oil from the picture, you will find it is 0.something% is our contribution to global trade. So when we are contributing such a minute percentage to global trade, don't you think we need preferential treatment because we cannot compete under a free market arrangement with those who developed long ago? Otherwise, they should give us concessions so that at least we are competitive as Ambassador put it.
Let's look at the difference between us and the former developed world. Places like India, which were not, pretty much like us. Places like Brazil, which were undeveloped economies previously. How do they manage to do this and get to transit from the previous status or ABCs to middle-income status countries?
Well, the question where this is, by the way, I don't know how it is calculated. The listener out there should know that when we are talking about Kenya having to sign, because it may not
middle-income countries no longer.
Kenya is called a developing country, and the rest of the partner states in the East African community are called LDCs or least developed countries. So the BRICS have managed to do it because they first put their houses in order. The governance question, first of all, was resolved, but secondly, they have got good negotiators. In fact, I'm told in the recent WTO, when you see a meeting in Bali, in Indonesia, India put down its stamp and said for them, we are going to buy food and store it for a rainy season in case there is famine and there is a crop failure. They would now distribute that food. European Union and other developed countries were saying no, that is trade distorting. India put down its foot and said for us, we shall do it or else we withdraw from the negotiations. And the other people backed down. So where is the position of Africa that we stand for on the principle and say beyond this, tusema kwa makanda na Uganda is in nursery. Yes. There is where you put the spears whatever and say from here
red line. Let's think about when you come back, we look at some of the lessons from the big country, not our own mistakes. Let's look at it and how we can basically get back, redress those and get fair agreements. This is Spectrum. I'm talking about, but we'll be back.
Sorry, my dear. May I put my shopping bag here? Oh, no problem. Thank you. I love the new taxi park. It's much cleaner. Agreed. And speaking of clean, this session looks interesting. I've never seen it before. Look, it's the new laundry powder from Mukwano. I had to try it. Oh, is that Mama? I've heard about it. Apparently, it makes your washing smell sincere. They say this Mama washes cleaner than clean. Such a pretty sachet. Yes, and I'm told that Mama cleans and softens your washing when you need two in one action. My sister says the colors still bright too. Save money, save time, and get the fresh fabric softener all in one with new Mama laundry powder. I think life just got a little easier. Mama knows best. Discover new Mama 2-in-1 laundry powder from Mukwano and wash cleaner than clean. Wash for wash.
Sorry, you seem confused. What's the problem? I have one thing that super equipment. They need a guarantee of 50 million shillings. I thought your bank would finance for smart. Yes, I do. Then why worry? What you need is just a bank guarantee. Actually, the guy needs some that. We are now a full-fledged bank and can only cater for all that. From overdraft, in asset finance. What is asset finance? Like when you want to buy a boda, taxi or tractor for your farm. What you want to buy becomes the security, then they give you the money and you pay later. And finance trust bank. My birthday, sure. Let me go. I know they will sort this out for me. At Finance Trust Bank, you will find all your banking needs under one roof. A special account for women, savings accounts, current accounts, and loans. We serve you with trust and convenience. Visit us at any of our branches countrywide. Finance Trust Bank, putting you first. Spectrum on Radio 1 every 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight, what other risks and opportunities of the economic partnership agreement that East African community countries are signing with the European Union? Our guests, Ambassador from Irumba, Executive Director of CIT, that's the Southern and Eastern African Trade Information and Negotiations Institute, and Dr. Mwambutsya Ndebesa, the Senior Lecturer of Political History at Makerere University. Dr. Ndebesa, to pick up from where we stopped just before we took a break, lessons from the breaks. What are we supposed to be doing here in Africa that the breaks did? What we're not doing. The breaks will be Brazil, Russia, India, China, or South Africa.
Yeah, although we may borrow good practices from other countries, I'm not saying we shouldn't, we cannot just replicate their experiences because we are different. Most of those countries, when you talk about Russia, the population is so big and they have a technological base. You talk about China, the population is 1.3 billion, and that's one country. India is about 1.2 billion, that's one country, bigger than the whole of Africa combined. Brazil is more than 200 million, and it's a big country. South Africa has a base of minerals. They have, I think, the best diamond and the gold reserves in the world. So we cannot replicate their examples exactly. Nevertheless, there are certain things we can borrow from them. One is that you first put your house in order in terms of governance. Unless you agree on governance issues, and you can change leaders without first recourse to threats and almost war, then you will not go very far. You may say China is not democratic, but they have institutionalized their governance in such a manner that in China now the head of state has to be there for 10 years. Afterwards, not hand over. And if you don't, they will just move your head. They will separate the head from the body, from the body. So they have managed to institutionalize. Secondly, they have established a technological base. I think human development is very important in these countries to focus on our technological base so that we can use it to overcome some of these weaknesses of production that we have. But we seem not to be interested more in promoting our technological base. We are just round and round saying giving what we don't have. Like what? Saying what we don't have. Yes. The other day we were selling to America through AGOA, we were selling some t-shirts which were being imported from somewhere. Being imported from Bangladesh or somewhere. Right. So how do you start exporting even what you don't produce? Now what you call marginal profit you get.
Before we come to Ambassador, and I'd like you to give us your own perspective on that big one. what is the importance of governance? I mean, we talk about changing governance. If you have one good government that is stable for 40 years like India, what's wrong with that?
Well, the advantages of not having that good stability of government, non-central government, but there are also disadvantages. In my opinion, you need to socialize governance so that governance does not rely on individuals but on institutions too. It must be sustainable. That stability, that unity that we are talking about must be sustainable. So how do you make it sustainable? Somehow, to some extent, Tanzania has made it sustainable. For example, they don't deal away with their leaders anyhow. When I was very young, I had Rashid Kawawa was the Secretary General of TAMU and later CCM, and I think he died almost when he was still Secretary General. So we are other leaders like Bomani, like John Marichura and the rest. But now here, we are living in political uncertainty, and political uncertainty discourages even investment. That's number one. Secondly, political patronage discourages development of the technological base. Those developed countries like successful political patronage destroys the growth of the technological base. How does it do it? You find that in these tiger countries in Southeast Asia, which have developed, and even Japan, they deliberately went and copied Western technology and grafted it onto their cultural system.
Reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering. But what they would do, they would select some of their best skilled people, some of their best brains, send them and bring them back and respect them. But for us, when we are sending, it is taken to know who, not taken to know how. It is not the best brains we send, but how is he connected to those powers that are serving him. Now, with that system of patronage, then we will not go far in building a technological base.
And in Japan, the domestic leading management thinker from the US, they took him there for 30 years and took him on a certain universities to get some of this.
They actually copied and stole technology from the West, from Germany, from USA, and grafted it. They had nationalism, or what's a bit of patriotism, but then it was deliberately done with justice, with fairness, with inclusiveness.
Right.
Otherwise, if you do it on the basis of mere political survival,
it will be difficult.
It will be difficult.
Here we try to teach patriotism, but we don't know how to teach us to do that in this doctors. Ambassador, talk to us about this. I mean, how do you copy to boil the word from the breaks?
We have to look at countries like Malaysia. See, Malaysia and Uganda almost got the same independence about the same time. We were slightly better, about the same population. But as I keep on saying, the only thing we have not kept a pace with them is the population.
Malaysia or South Korea?
Malaysia. Yes. The only thing we have kept a pace with them is the population. Malaysia had a very clear vision of trying to reach a middle-income country. And then they worked out policies to achieve that objective, which included targeted support of certain specific industries. It's when they became competitive in those industries when we opened up, they went up to the ladder of value addition, but they went out deliberately. But what we have done for us is to open up without actually, as the professor has said, we have not prepared ourselves. Now, the same can be said of Singapore. Singapore is a single state, no resources. After they were expelled from Malaysian Federation, precisely because the Malaysia did for more Chinese, who would have caused the ethnic problems. But they set out deliberately to achieve what we want. For us here, we have two more policy statements. Vision 2040. The trouble is implementation. We are good at making all these fantastic policy statements, but implementation is how we on the war. I was in Malaysia. We worked out very specific ideas on how they would reach, first of all, where they are, middle income. Everybody from the Prime Minister up to the officer has to account how he's contributing to that. The minister has to account to the president. The permanent secretary has to account, and everyone is cascaded downstairs. How do you fit in, contribute to this achievement? Now they want they are moving to focus on service because that's the next stage. But they have trained their people. They have set up universities for that. But what it says, we just look it for laissez-faire.
Everyone for himself. Regional central planning.
I want to comment briefly on budgetary support for certain successful businesses or industries. Yes, I think the government should have a policy of identifying its success stories, successful business people, successful entrepreneurs, successful private sector, whether it's service sector or agriculture or industry, and then give them targeted support financially and otherwise.
Like what said Jabalaba.
The challenge here is that we target political support, not target entrepreneurs. That is the challenge now. Yeah, what we do, I think that we target those ones who are likely to support us, and actually sometimes I'm told undermine those who are not the supporters of the regime in power. In other words, targeted support to certain successful industries must be done in such a manner that it does not involve patronage. In other words, there must be a policy of identifying the successful businesses. And there must be institutional arrangements to identify those successful businesses, not the whims of some people, or you just look at somebody and say, me, I'm targeting you, like I will give you support. No. That is not good politics and good governance.
Yeah, we will dig deeper on that, but before we Ambassador, let's look at some of the other core risks. Things like threats to food security, the possibility of the collapse of innovation, domestic innovation, and damage industrialization policies. Can you extrapolate on those for us? Are they real fears or are they
These are real fears in the sense, if you look at food security, and you have signed an agreement with the EU which has not reduced its subsidies. Then your products won't compete. They could be actually undermining your food security. Of course, they will say that they say they will exclude exports or export taxes on products they export to Uganda and East Africa, but that's one over academic. Even the other aspect which I've been emphasizing these days is one way they undermine you is actually giving food aid.
So you don't go around maize with families.
So first of all, you develop your dependence on them. If the maize comes here and it is put on the market, it actually destroys the local market.
It's cheaper.
It's subsidized. And that's why Professor Sanya was saying, talk about India. India has, in WTO, has insisted that WTO agreement no what they need to purchase. One way of empowering local people, the small farmer, is they need to purchase karatin at a certain price so they can keep in business. At the same time, that food which they could buy from him, put it as a food reserve, which they distribute to those who don't need, so they can answer. Not only you helping small farmers, but they also addressing the question of food reserve.
Yes.
But in this country, we don't think of a national granary. We depend on the whims of the weather.
We have rains around it.
Yes, but how long can I advantage of it?
Winston Churchill says, our staple food grows wild without attention. Why do we need to wait for God has taken care of us? We don't need silence.
I would like rain food agriculture.
Yes, but what is our garden?
Most times we have had inflation in this country which is agricultural based,
And we had a drought in 20.
and it disseminates all the other economic activities and plans that we have because of that inflation. But the last time I checked, also people were dying of hunger in the regions like Karamoja. And besides that, because we don't have a good targeted policy for overcoming malnutrition, even food exporting areas, exporting areas within the country, like Rusheni, have got a 30% malnutrition rate. That is really embarrassing. But Bushon, which is supposed to be a model district, has such high rates of malnutrition.
We get a balanced diet.
We don't get a balanced diet because there is no targeted policy at addressing malnutrition levels. Even people, so the other day I was reading, it is something like 50% or whatever of the children are stunted. Well, to have stunted children in Uganda, which is supposed to be a food basket, is an embarrassment to say the least.
Ambassador, when you look at some scenarios, what is likely to happen? I mean, October 1 is only 2 days ago away. Only a day away.
October 1 is coming, but what is going to happen is Kenya want to get this, although we have rushed trying to give the deadline, Kenya will not get it immediately. Because those soldiers, as we said, have governance. The European Parliament has to reverse the decision, and that will take months. So much as they were trying to rush to get the deadline, they will not get what they want immediately. So and the EU recently the EU representative made it clear that it was saying that it will take some time, so it could be taking a year or more for the European Parliament to reverse that decision. So that disruption which we're trying to avoid is bound to be there. They're trying to ask the EU to see they could have a legal instrument, but that's unfortunately unlikely.
So we're going to sign, or we're not going to sign? I'm going to sign.
For months, the ministers have already initially, of course, our draft on the text, on our draft, the EU has also initially. So what's like, the EU could now know we are in a weak position, could even demand more.
So the current one is not that good. That is acceptable, and we've initiated it.
We have initiated it, but the EU has also initiated it.
So they could make it harder.
They could make it,
and your complaint is that the current one is not good enough. The hammer could come down.
Now, the negotiation is at the final mile. That's when usually the most difficult one. And if that's what you say, you are the weakest. That's when they demand their pound of flesh.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if you not can more demand that maybe this language you have is not sufficient to convince my European Parliament.
How do you get out of this?
How do you get about this? How do you get about this crisis? I mean, it's a long term. We may not get out of this crisis because you can see we are hurrying in order to save the flower capital. And by name flower capital, I'm not sure whether it is basically African. It appears to me it is foreign direct investment capital. And in any case, we may not be getting much. Yes, in Uganda here, telling me how many indigenous people are growing flowers. I might imagine a similar situation is obtaining in Kenya in terms of the capital invested in flowers, the ownership. In which case, even the benefits accruing from flower exports may not even be coming back to Kenya, may be reinvested elsewhere outside Kenya. But how do we get about it? I think there is President Museveni normally talks about ideological clarity. I think that the free market ideology or neoliberalism, as it were, has taken a heavy toll on our political class and negotiators. We are already limited. Our paradigm, our mindset, our mind has been limited towards free market, and we cannot think beyond the box. I think it is time we redefined our relationship with developed countries, and it is time we also came together as an African continent or regional power, because when we are many, even if we are individually weak, when we are many, sometimes we become strong. We call it the weapons of the weak. The weak must have, in my language they say, our children were when you know you are very few, and you are converting a strong enemy, what you do in terms of numerical strengths, what you do, especially if it is at night, even during the day, you run towards the banana plantation where they have dried banana leaves, you will shake them, and they think you are moving. So we should also ban the weapons of the weak and deploy them. Otherwise, if you just open up because it is fashionable to look like the Europeans or Americans, I'm telling you, Like we signed off our sovereignty in 1900, we are signing off our sovereignty even in the 21st century.
Let's say for the listeners, this is Spectrum on radio, and these are our numbers: 0414-348111, 0312-261-390, 0312-261-390.
Good evening, Edmond. Hello? Hello? Hello, Edmond?
Yes, my friend. Go on.
Good evening, this is a report. I have a brief comment and an observation. The comment is that India and China, among other countries, are partly where they are because they stood their ground and said no to structural adjustment programs that were put on weak and badly balanced stage. The observation is that from the ongoing debate, I've realized that there is more than just the debate about GMO, the bad science that is due to be forced on down on us, and I want Professor Irumba to make a comment on that. Thank you.
Very interesting. Yes, Ambassador Irumba. GMOs, these are the devil that's in the future.
We have to be very careful about GMOs, because if we are not careful, we shall find ourselves dependent on seeds, these terminator seeds, and which will wipe out our own indigenous seeds, so that we find this
Tell us your name and
My name is John Avamo. I have a question and one comment for the gentleman up there. My question is, we've had everything but arms for a long time, and as we go into negotiations, I'm wondering what have we achieved since if we have taken some of the everything but arms, where we had a duty-free and quota-free thing, then what have we achieved so that we can build from that to negotiate? Two, you talked about the capacity. Do you really think we have the capacity, for example, to sustainably export to the European market? A case in point is when you check Central Europe, comes from Germany, France, and a product like bananas, which we have in plenty, is not there. You find that the bananas there are Costa Rica. What does Costa Rica do that we don't do in order to sustainably export bananas to Central Europe that we have in plenty here? Thank you very much.
Yes, Ambassador.
Yeah, I'll start with the other statement about the GMOs. We have to be very, very careful about GMOs, because the multinational firms, who are out on a campaign to make sure that we sign on these GMOs, and we have not yet understood the full implications. But the most dangerous part of it is being dependent on these multinationals for seeds, and that will still do. And then the other aspect, there is a health problem. You might realize, and we need to inquire, you might realize now, particularly in the way to be people now, there is obesity. There is the cancer which we are really finding in children. Now, some people have not related to our consumption habits. We need to look at that. How are these consumption habits, particularly who mostly eat this junk food and or this is food from supermarkets. I mean, you go to the social club, you find these young boys obese. So we have, outside this, I think we need to look at this sort of being or the local advice from the others. Now, about the second question about who have had everything but arms. In fact, I can say since in the Cotonou, we have always had this preferential zero rate, but we have not used. That's why I kept saying market access is not market penetration. You have to do certain things. In fact, at one time we were doing a sugar quota. It was used by Mauritius. We could not afford to get more organized. Precisely because we don't have that production capacity. Now, those are the bottlenecks we need to address. before because if you have had EAC Cotonou for so many years and you have not yet will it help you by saying that now reciprocate to bring more industrial products? What that will help? If anything will impoverish you more.
Dr. Mwambutsya, very depressing stuff, really. Dr. Mwambutsya.
I think what we need to do is to address the supply side constraint issues here in the country. There are very many, and we need to have strategies, plans and strategies to overcome those supply side constraints. There are very many, but me, as I earlier said, I would concentrate on technology development and dissemination so that it is adopted and diffused into the country. Most of our agriculture is still rudimentary. We are actually primitive if we want. We have not injected technology into this agricultural production and productivity. We need to increase our productivity. Our industries, we need to start up industries where we need to build. The state should come in and start industries. And I'm glad that we are talking about a partnership with the business company to set up a food processing factory somewhere in Eastern Uganda. We need such partnerships so that we have our own industries and we export value, added values, except in these arrangements, when you add value, they increase their taxes. They negotiate this one and increase taxes. Actually, they want to facilitate export of raw materials. Something that they did since the days when they want us to continue like that.
When John Babaho asked about questions, we are the second largest producer of bananas in the world, green bananas. Yes. How come we can't sell them to Europe?
Because they are not well packaged, they are not well arranged, and we have not put much emphasis to facilitate our exports to the EU market. But there could be other reasons. Ambassador maybe has more reason than that why we don't export our bananas.
So first of all, we don't export our bananas because we eat most of them. Which is a bad thing, because it is at least then you are not going to suffer because you are no food. Now, in the case of Costa Rica, which you mentioned about, those bananas, I think the value which the Costa Rica that is certainly get is very excellent because it is Dole and it's Chukuta, and that's what one time American companies which actually take the money.
We have to go. Thank you very much. Our guest tonight, Ambassador Nathan Irumba, Executive Director of CIT, that's the Southern and Western African Trade Information Negotiations Institute for coming tonight. Also Dr. Mwambutsya Ndebesa, Senior Lecturer of Politics, Political History at Makerere University. Thank you for joining me and being a host of the Spectrum. We'll be back tomorrow.
This house has been in our family for years. I remember the first time I painted with my father. I must have been about 12 years old. Yeah.
What has the poor child done?
Mother joked that I was being punished, but I didn't think of it that way. One thing stuck with me though. I remember Dad saying to me, when it comes to Caribbean, there's only one company you can never go